Welcome.
Hi, I'm Lindsay Simsick.
And I'm Krista Williams.
Welcome to the New Paradigm Digital Workshop Series by Almost 30. Congrats. Investing in yourself is a huge deal.
Yeah, and we want you to get the most out of your experience. So we have a few guidelines that we suggest so that you really get the value for your money. One of them is telling all of your roommates, family members, partners, pets that you're going to be investing the next few hours within this workshop. We want you to not be distracted. We want you to not be interrupted. So really make sure that you're creating the container and intention that this is your time. We also want you to be comfortable. We are huge fans of being comfortable in comfortable clothes all day. So nothing should be different for us, but we want you guys to be seated in a blanket with a sweatshirt on, however you're going to feel most comfortable. Have some water next to you, have a journal so you can write down everything that's important that you're going to get from this time. Also, please note that we did do this live, so there's conversations about the chat, the people within the workshop. So those things aren't going to relate to the workshop experience that you're having, but this is minimal, so it shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, and I would say after this workshop too, give yourself time to integrate. Don't rush into anything right away. Give yourself time to really absorb what you heard, what came up for you, maybe journal, and just give yourself time to rest. But we really hope you enjoyed this workshop, and if you do, we have more where that came from. So you can visit shopalmost30.com for more New Paradigm Digital Workshop Series offerings.
Enjoy.
Yeah, we'll see you soon.
See you soon.
Welcome, everyone. So good to see your faces. I am Lindsay. Krista Williams is here with me as well. Welcome to our New Paradigm Digital Workshop Series. It is a joy and an honor to connect with you virtually during a time when I feel like we need connection more than ever. And I'm just so grateful for an intimate group like this tonight, or whatever time it is, wherever you are. I know we have people joining from all over the world. I would love, as I do my little intro, if y'all could introduce yourselves in the chat. I always think it's so special to just kind of find connections and synchronicities online for workshops like this. So where you're joining from, your name, and would love for you to share your intention for signing up for this workshop with Natalie Miles tonight. And as you are doing that, just wanted to explain our intention for starting this New Paradigm Digital Workshop Series. There is the logical, we can't be IRL with y'all at this moment. We were doing a lot of in-person events, but we wanted to keep the connection. And, we really feel like are some major shifts happening on Earth right now. And so we wanted to, in any way that we could, support you in this transition, this collective transition. So this workshop series, we dive into everything from intuition to plant medicine, to aliens, to holistic nutrition, to human design, and more. So tonight I am really excited to dig in with you all. Natalie Miles is a dear friend. I will introduce her in a moment. But yeah, everyone who's joining now, please just introduce yourself in the chat, where you're joining from and your intention. We have Brooklyn, a couple people from New York, Vancouver, Los Angeles, Scottsdale, amazing, Birmingham, Alabama, Miami, Providence, and let's see. Yeah, intentions like better understand my intuition. Absolutely. That's what tonight is definitely going to be about. Connect deeper and continue to gain clarity. Just trust. Such a powerful one. Yes. Connect with our spirit guides. It's going to be really, really fun. Great. Perfect. So I just wanted to run through how tonight is going to work. and a little business, and then we will introduce Natalie. So basically, we are going to use this chat box to speak to one another, to, hypothetically clap when, something resonates with you, to make any comments. And if you have any technical difficulties, you can ping us privately. You can ping the host privately. That's me. Um, and at the end, you'll also use this chat for the Q&A. So reserve all of your questions until the end. It just makes it more organized, and ensures that we don't miss any of your amazing questions. And just find yourself, which I'm sure you are, but just double checking you're in a space that's quiet and just, private, so that this experience for the next 2 hours is one that's like really sacred. I applaud you all and really honor you for taking the time and investing in yourself. And I know it's not easy. I think we have family, we have friends that really require our love and care and attention, but as you all know, if we don't take care of ourselves first, none of that can happen. So I just really applaud you, and am inspired by all of you. Make sure you have a pen and paper. It's always nice to be able to take notes as you have your aha moments, and just make sure you're comfortable. Water nearby is always a good idea as we just activate and receive messages and different codes from Natalie. I think water just really is a great way to kind of cleanse anything that you'd like to get rid of and just keep the energy moving. We will have one break in the middle, for 5 minutes. So I will come back on after Natalie's first section and just kind of introduce the break. And then Krista will be back on to welcome you back from the break. And we'll have Natalie's second section for about 40 minutes. And then we'll go into our Q&A, which Krista will lead. So if you all are good to go, we will get started. I just want to say, Natalie is one of those people, in our lives that's just been such a guide. And as we've awakened, she's been someone we've turned to really hone our intuition, really strengthen our communication with our guides, to trust ourselves, to be as present as possible with our process. And she's also just a beautiful and loving human being. So I always just feel so safe with her. So please, feel free, like when we get to the Q&A, no question is silly. She is just the most heart-centered human being. She is a channeler for the collective. She's a writer. She has a new book coming out this fall. She has a podcast called So You Think You're Intuitive, which is one of my favorites. She does an energy forecast every month that is awesome. So if you haven't listened to those, you can definitely catch up every month. But yeah, let's welcome Natalie to the workshop. Natalie Miles, y'all. Zoom's always like a weird intro where I'm like, okay, and she does a dance. Here we go. I'm gonna unmute you and I'm gonna spotlight your video. Hello, beauty.
Yay! Hello, hello. Oh, thank you for the intro. Those were
Oh,
kind words. It's like I don't think I've ever been introed like that on Zoom before. I was like, oh, it's like the hearing your
and then the
voice.
cats come dancing and they're like, Natalie.
Hi, Krista.
I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for joining from Vancouver, Canada. Yeah, I'm so excited to really dig in with this group and discover like just parts of ourselves that, what I've come to realize, especially in the last few months, that parts of myself that are always accessible, but there is this resistance to our gifts, that keeps us from really owning them and trusting them and using them. So I'm incredibly excited for people to really feel that, tonight to connect with our guides. That has been one of the most healing parts of my journey thus far. My guides are like the sweetest little beings, and they remind me truly that I am not alone. And yeah, I'm so grateful you're here. So if we all could, Natalie included, with our intentions in mind, I just kind of want to take a grounding 3 breaths just so we can like be in this space, and then I'll let Nat take it away. So close your eyes really quickly and just kind of let the weight of the day just melt off of your body. So maybe it was on your shoulders or concentrated on the top of your head or maybe in your belly. Just with some deep breaths on your own, just imagine that the breath is able to break apart that dense, heavy energy. And with that intention in your heart, and if it helps to repeat it, um, do that. Take a deep breath all together through the nose, filling up the belly. And just opening your mouth and letting out an audible exhale. And again, just repeating that intention. I think words are so powerful. And because they just came so naturally from your heart tonight, I want you to trust them. Taking a deep breath in all together. Releasing anything that's not serving you in this moment. And on this last breath, take a deep inhale, filling up the lower belly, that space of creativity and intuition. And just breathing a little bit deeper for the other human beings that joined this workshop tonight from all over the world. Exhale out the mouth, let it go. Beautiful. Thank you for creating this space for one another. And Nat, without further ado, I hand it over to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh yeah, intuition. Where do we start? There's so much to cover. And I just something that Lindsay touched upon around how this is such an important time for when our intuition is, needed more than ever. And it's actually why the book that Lindsay introed about that's coming out in September it's about why we need our intuition more than ever for this time, like how we can really trust our truth and be in our power, because there are so many ways right now that we're being told we're finding ourselves where we're out of our power, where we are receiving lots of information through news and social media that is taking us out of our truth and our power. And we are really going to be needing to use our intuition more than ever over the next couple of years as we navigate the collective. And so your intuitive gifts, the gifts that you were born with, we're all intuitive, every single one of us. It's going to become this part of you that you have, that you're going to want to tune in on a daily basis to know what you're receiving, to receive messages and guidance from your spirit team, who are made not just of your guides but of your loved ones and your ancestors, as well as your spirit guides as well. And and it's going to become more and more important that where we're not looking outside of ourselves for the guidance, where we're really turning back inwards to really listen to our own intuition, listen to our own gifts, listen to our own knowing, listen to what feels right for us through as we navigate, some really challenging energy in the collective that's going to come up. And I know, and I've been sharing this more than ever, that people have been like, you know, is this, are we going back to normal, inverted commas? And this is just part of a bigger transformation of the collective that is underway over the next couple of years, which is why we're all in this space where I've been saying we're really getting prepared. Like there's an energy of really being prepared right now, that we're all navigating through. And I wanted just to channel through, I tuned into this group before you guys all got on the call, and I really wanted to share some messages, some group messages before we go on this kind of deep dive onto looking at what's holding you back from connecting to your gifts, how you personally are receiving the messages as well. So before I jump into that, I really wanted to just channel some messages through for you as a group. And it was fascinating. The image when I really tuned into you all as a collective group was fire. Like this element of you being in your fire and being in your passion, and looking right now in your life where you are not in your fire and you are not in your passion. And it can also be that you know what your passion is and you know what your fire is, but you're not doing anything about it. It becomes like the second thing in your life that you're going to versus making it front and center. We're really being asked towards this back end of this month into in July and into August to really step into our fire and into this passion. And it can be from your a hobby or a gift or a way that you're not showing up in the world, sharing your own gifts into the world. It can also be we've been navigating a lot of emotions. I don't know about you, but I've definitely been navigating a lot of emotions. But what happens is that our energetic body gets a bit too watery. It gets a bit imbalanced on an elemental level. So we're really being called this back end of the month to like, how can I bring fire into my life? Whether it is through just lighting, just lighting a simple candle and just looking at the flame and putting, lighting a candle at the end of your day or the start of your day and bringing in the fire that way is really potent and really powerful. It can also be, and we're going to work on this a bit later with our knowing gifts, really connecting to the solar plexus and the sacral. And I was really happy when Lindsay said in the meditation around like tuning into that part of your body, because so often we think our intuition is our third eye and our crown chakra. So often we think it's all about, I got to see the gift and I've got to connect to this, my crown, my higher self, source, universe, God, whatever you want to label it as. And what we're really being called to is to really focus on the sacral and the root, to really ground us and for us to channel in the intuitive messages through this part of our body. It is going to be transformational as we do that as a group and as a collective, as we shift the energy instead of being up and out to really going down and in before we go up and out. And that's really going to help with your passion and the fire. And that was also then leading into this element of stagnancy. Where are you stagnant in your life right now? Where are you purposefully holding things up? Where are you purposefully on a subconscious level, but really kind of like, where are you creating the dam of the energy? Because when we're going through these massive transformations and massive up levels, we can hold on to the past so much. So we want to change, but we like resist it in so many ways. And so I would really call on you to like look at what is stagnant in your life. And then you can do it as a brief visualization where you imagine what is stagnant breaking down and allowing the water, allowing it to flow. But you're really being called to look at your life right now of where you are, where there's a stagnancy, and it's like you don't exactly know where you're going right now. That's a lot of the energy around right now. We don't know where we're going. We know the change is coming, but that we have to keep going. There's a lot of difficult negative energy around right now that's making us feel like we're not in our power, that we're not in our truth, that we should that we shouldn't be embodying this element of transformation. So whatever transformation that you are calling in your life right now, keep going. And just notice where the stagnancy is, whether it's coming from yourself or others as well. Others telling you this isn't the right time. Have you seen what's happening in the collective? Really noticing whether you're listening to your own intuition and what you're getting, or are you outsourcing? Are you outsourcing and asking and taking that on from others versus really dropping into yourself? And so this is a really potent time to future vision and to look at that vision for yourself of what you're moving towards. Don't forget that, because within all of this, when we're going through all the emotions and we're shedding all the old skin, we forget that. And when we step into that future vision element, we're also stepping back into the fire, and we're stepping back into the passion of what you're calling in. So yeah, and this, just to briefly mention the July energy forecast, the theme for July is coming home. For those who haven't listened to my energy forecast on the podcast, the theme is coming home. And we are massively coming home to ourselves this month, and realizing that home is not outside of ourselves, it is us. But it's also a time where many people, in many of my groups and many in my one-on-one sessions, there's an element where we're being prepared for the back end of the year, post September, where it's like, who do you want to be with and where do you want to be? So if you've got ideas of moving, or you're questioning where you are and what that looks like for you as well, just, you know, listen to what's you're being drawn towards is what I'll just share, because we're all getting these hits and wanting to kind of either make our homes a certain way or move homes and be around certain people. So yeah, really listen to those intuitive calls, because sometimes your intuition can make you feel like you're going crazy a little bit. I'll be honest. There are times when you get those messages and you're like, really? You want me to follow that? And you're like, it can make you doubt yourself. It can make you question yourself. Like I do it, and I get those pings, and they're like, I'm like, you really want me to do that? And they're like, yeah, come on, let's go, let's do it. And it's like, okay. But every time I follow it and I trust it, it's amazing what comes through. And it's amazing the journey that comes off the back of it, but it also leads you into your own authentic truth. It leads you back into this truth and this knowing that then ripples out into your own life, but also into the collective. And that's why our intuition is so important right now, because as we are tuning into our gifts and stepping into our truths that are coming through for us, that energy ripples out into the collective and is part of the collective change. So thank you for being here to really connect to your intuitive gifts, because as part of that energy, you are, it's part of the collective change that is going to be needed over the next couple of years. So yeah, it's a powerful gift to reconnect to. Do they want me to share anything else on channeling? I find that everything this evening will be channeled. So they just say, hey, now what do we, there's a brief outline of where we're going with this all, but they're like, we just go with the flow of what they want to share. And I just kind of get out of the way and be like, okay, I have a human nap brain on of where we think I'm logically planning in the evening, and then they like to go in flow. I wanted to get a raise of hands of how many of you know your guides, have connected to your guides in some shape or form. Just raise your hand if you know them at all. Awesome. How many of you, is this your first ever time connecting to your intuition? like in a more formal setting? How many of you? Welcome. Thank you for taking this brave leap. This is awesome. And what I will say is that we have this like conceived notion of how we think we're going to get intuitive messages. Like we've been conditioned what a psychic or an intuitive looks like. I mean, how many movies and TV shows have you seen where it's like the woman or man with beaded curtains, a crystal ball, and how cheesy and stereotyped it looks? Like, I mean, it's there. But we also then get stereotyped and conditioned that we're going to receive our messages in a certain way as well. And what we don't realize is our whole body, every single part of our body is intuitive. Like it is like an intuitive vessel. So you are receiving messages and guidance on a daily basis, even if you don't realize it. They can show up as knowing, feeling, hearing, and seeing. You might also get taste as well, and smell. Sometimes people get messages through smelling. But we all have the whole range, the whole spectrum. Everyone has access to. It's just that at different times, those gifts will get reactivated. And sometimes we'll have gifts that are stronger than others. But what happens is that there are numerous blocks that we all face. And I'm gonna share some of them with you, the ones that I feel are the most prevalent, and they might not be even ones that you've thought of. And so as I'm sharing this, I really want you just to take notice of what you think your blocks are. And you can make a note of them as well as we go through if you want. We are going to do a little bit of a journaling kind of ritual releasing exercise around them. But I just want you just to take notice of what really lights up for you, where you're like, oh shit, that's one of my blocks. That's what's holding me back. So one of the main ones is actually, hang on a second, I've lost my piece of paper. There we go. My Word doc is back up. One of the main ones is actually patriarchy and colonialism. Like, we have been conditioned to not trust our intuition. We have been made to not be in our power because of patriarchy and colonialism, from including the witch hunts, which meant that the witches were killed, murdered. Women were particularly turned upon each other, which is why that happens still today. It's programmed into us from hundreds of years ago, where to save yourself, it was, oh, don't kill me, go to the witch round the corner, she's the one you're after, kind of vibe. And we still hold that in our DNA. We hold that. And it's still part of the systems that we live in society today. We live in a white patriarchal society that is impacted by colonialism. And as these systems and structures crumble in the world that we live in today, this is why we're also really being connected back to our intuitive gifts. It's a reactivation of all the times that we've stepped out of our power. So that might be something that you might not have even realized is something that is holding you back, because it's that conditioning that has been passed down from ancestor to ancestor that has really held us back from trusting it, which is why people, and I'll go into, which is why you want to hide your gifts, which is why you worry about what other people think of you. Trust me, I feel you deeply on this. Like, it's been such a journey to not give a shit what people think. Like, I remember when I came out as a psychic, as an intuitive. I used to work in film for 10 years. And I remember when I went to my first ever networking gig to get readings, to get clients, and they were like, oh, so what do you do? And I was like, oh God, I've got to say what I do. I was so nervous. I was like, oh my God, I just felt so uncomfortable. And the moment I said it, it was like something was like released out of me that I could then be like, oh, okay. But that didn't stop me, like, even as I was growing my gifts, before I got to that point, like, I used to lie about going to psychic development classes and connecting with and going to circles and groups. Like, I used to say, my work colleagues were like, what are you doing this evening, Nat? And I'd be like, oh, I'm going to a meditation circle. Because me saying I was going to a meditation workshop was more acceptable than saying, oh yeah, I'm going to go and practice my psychic and intuitive gifts. And I love that, like, Claire has just said the same. Like, she's actually said this evening that she's attending a meditation workshop. Like, I feel you. Like, it's you know, it's the thing. So I would just make a note, and you can carry this on after this workshop as well. When have you felt judged by others, or that you felt like you've had to hide your gift? Looking back, when I go back to looking at that, like, I can go back to being like 13, 14, and that and being judged by actually with at school. I found that it was at school. We did a Ouija board. We thought it'd be really fun to do a Ouija board, and it's like at that age where you're just like, yeah, let's do a Ouija board. And no one expected it to move, because it was all those things that you've seen on movies. We were inspired by The Craft to do it, if you've ever seen that movie. And it started to move, and I'm not joking, all these girls turned at me and were like, it's you're the one doing it. And they were just like, I felt so much shame, and I didn't realize until I was like, oh, because it started to spell things out. So yeah. The other thing is when we connect to our intuition, there's a fear that will my family still accept me? Will my family still accept me if I'm like coming out as an intuition? Especially as children, children are so intuitive, like so intuitive, like so dialed in, like they know what's happening in a family environment. They know, you know, but there it gets squashed. So that we are born intuitive, and as we go through childhood, it gets squashed because, ironically, normally the parents or caregivers are also scared of their own intuition, so it ends up being this kind of loop. Yeah, lots of eye rolls from the family. It's like, oh, you're going into that, are you? Yeah, it can be and it can also make you feel like the odd one out as well within the family. A lot of time it can feel really isolating and alone if you're someone that's really dialed in, and that you kind of feel like that. And then I do want to talk about religion, because religion does also impact that. Like the traditional forms of religion, again, that are connected to the patriarchy, but also that it is seen that within the traditional forms of religion, a lot of religions, that the power is outside of ourselves versus it being within ourselves, and that we can work with we can work with God, spirit, the universe, but that we also have access to all of it here. Like it's part of, like, you know, we have access to all of it. So there is a lot of time where if you're born into a really religious family, it can really be even harder to connect to your intuition, because it can be even more daunting to be, you know, to kind of go there and step out of that loop. But I do also say that you can be religious and be intuitive. Like you don't have to choose. Like there's a lot of fear that can I be religious and be intuitive? 100%. Like, it's all connected. It's all connected. It's just, just knowing that you're in your own inner power. This is another one that people have. Is it safe? Is it safe? Am I going to be calling in negative energies? Like, this is massive. Like, this can be one of the biggest fears, is that we've been programmed again through society, the movies we watch, that by opening yourself up to connect to spirit and connect to your intuition, that you're going to call in negative entities and energies that are going to get stuck to you, and that you are going to call something in and then something bad's going to happen. I mean, how many of you raise your hands if that's, I mean, if you feel called, like, hey, like, that's been conditioned, you know, when I first started connecting, like, that was like, and also a fear of wondering what you're gonna see. Like, that's massive. Like, so many people worry what they're going to see, so they don't do anything with their intuition. Is like, no, I'm not doing it, don't want to see it, don't want to see it. Especially if you were really intuitive as a kid and you saw loads of things as a kid, lots of people nodding, and then it's like, not doing this, feel really out of control, don't have the grounding to be able to do this. So this is why learning how to ground and to shield yourself is really important, because when you do that, you know, negative entities do exist. I was like, where there's light, there's dark, where there's light, there's shadow. But it's knowing about your intention and the shielding that you're using will always call, you know, it's that, like, you can work within the shadowy energies, and that's a choice. Some intuitives, that's their path, that's what they want to work with, and that's their journey. But if you don't want to go there, you can just get really clear on how you shield. Another block, relying on technology. How many of you, instead of listening to your intuition, go to Google and Google your dreams, your messages, your animal signs, the thing you've seen? What does this mean? I mean, hands up who's done that? Like, yeah. It's huge. We have to reclaim our intuitive sovereign power, that we know what it means, versus going onto the internet. Because what it means, one thing for me is different for you. And so we're reclaiming that, where it's like, great, technology is really awesome, but actually let's like really, let's trust ourselves. Because if you see a butterfly for something that's going on in your life, butterfly means something completely different for me. You have a dream where your teeth are falling out, you Google teeth falling out, but you haven't looked at what's happening in your life. You've just gone to go and get some like global collective message on what does teeth falling out, what does seeing a bear mean, versus asking yourself, like, what does it mean to me? That's what I would say. I always ask myself, what does it mean to me? And just ask yourself that question first. Another block, mental health, anxiety and depression. This comes up a lot. I get this question asked a lot on the podcast. There is a fear of connecting to your intuition, because if you suffer from anxiety and depression, you're worried that you're not going to be able to get clear messages. And or if you're on any medication, that the medication will numb you so that you won't be able to receive the guidance that you're getting. The message, that's how I like to describe it, is you can be on medication and still connect to your intuition. You do not need to come off because you're worried that you won't be able to connect. And the anxiety and the depression, when you connect to your intuition, you're actually learning more about yourself. You're really going to tune into your emotions and who you are, and really uncover a lot about yourself. And so actually your intuition is probably going to help with the anxiety and the depression as well. But if you're someone that struggles with anxiety and depression, and it's a block where you're like, I don't want to go there because I don't want to open myself up, just notice how that comes up for you. And this is one of my other favorites. People pleasing and fitting in. We don't act on our intuitive gifts because we want to fit in with others. When we get those pings, or we get those things that are an element of truth to us, we're so worried about saying something wrong or being different that we've become a nation of people pleasers. And especially within cancel culture as well, that's even louder. So we've stopped really dropping into our intuition because we're worried about what other people will think. So even if you're getting that really loud intuitive message, like really loud, and your whole body is screaming at you, notice where you are, where you're not acting on it because you want to fit in or you want to people please. I mean, hey, I hands up that, you know, people pleaser, you know, again, it's ingrained in us from society. It's ingrained in us from, we've been conditioned. And it's you know, when you really start dropping into your intuition, it's like, oh, I can't do this. And that's not my truth. That's not my power. I'm out of my power if I'm keeping on like people pleasing. So what I'm going to do really, we're going to really just, I want to just do a really brief visualization with what I've just shared. And if you've written any notes on where you feel like you've, where you feel like you've you've got some of those as well. And what I want you to do is you're just going to shut your eyes, and we're just going to do a little brief release. I'm just going to make sure my
battery 80%.
My music.
Connected.
And take a really big deep breath.
Battery 80%. Connected to iPhone.
There we go. So just shut your eyes. And I just want you to take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your toes, just grounding you into the earth. And we're going to call forward our guides, our loved ones in spirit, and our ancestors. And we're going to bring them forward into our sphere, as we are just going to do a mini release on letting go of the blocks that are holding you back. And I want you to imagine a life force energy moving from the base of your spine up your spinal column. As you send this life force energy up your spinal column, and as you imagine as it comes out of the top of your head, down your face, down your neck, down your shoulders, your arms, your body, your legs. And I want you just to imagine that you are on the top of a cliff. You are on a cliff top. And on this cliff top is a burning fire, a massive bonfire. And I want you to walk towards the bonfire. And as you walk towards this bonfire, you're going to notice and feel your ancestors all around you, your spirit team. And into this bonfire, you are going to throw in all of the blocks that you know are holding you back from connecting to your intuitive gifts. And I want you to visualize and imagine that you have the piece of paper that you wrote on, or the visualization, the things that you were nodding to as I shared these blocks. And I want you to imagine yourself walking around the fire, throwing them in and releasing them. Releasing what other people think, worrying if your family will accept you, releasing anything, fears around if it is safe or not, releasing any religious blocks, the reliance of technology, your mental health, the people pleasing and fitting in, this need to be the good girl. And as you do this, know that you are held and supported. And as we do this, you will notice the energy shift throughout your body, opening you up, reactivating your intuitive gifts. As the light floods in, as you release and let go of everything into the fire. And just want you to come up and just think of one word or one thing that you want to let go into this fire. Shame, guilt, whatever is coming up for you, I want you to imagine that you are throwing it into the fire, letting it go. Know that you are safe and you are held to truly step into your intuitive gifts, your intuitive truth, your intuitive power. And then when you're ready, slowly wiggle your hands and your toes. Come back into the space. Yeah. Oof. Love it. Thank you. Just notice how you feel. It can be really emotional when you do that. So, and if you feel called, you can do this again on your own. If there are more things that you feel like you want to release into the fire, I love it as a visualization of the cliff top with the bonfire. It can, it's a powerful releasing tool. And I think now we're going to go on a really brief 5-minute break. And Lindsay's got his little Lindsay face smiling back at me.
That's beautiful. I loved the visualization of ancestors around the fire. That just felt so like, that felt really good. Okay, let's take a deep breath before we take a moment. Inhale. Just be mindful of, the need for breath to integrate as well. But we'll take 5 minutes. So we'll come back at 5:52 my time. So translate that to wherever you are. And Krista will welcome you back in 5 minutes. Thanks, everyone.
This has been fascinating, and I'm really thankful for the information now. It couldn't come at a better time. So now that we're back, Natalie's back, she's ready to go. We'll let her rock, and then I'll be back and I'll help facilitate our Q&A. Looking forward to it.
Yay. Awesome. Just letting everyone land, grabbing their water. Fabulous. So the next bit we're going to do is, now we've done a bit of looking at the blocks, I really want to start calling in around how you guys are gonna look at how you're receiving your messages, because this can, like, we, as I said earlier, like, we all have access to the full spectrum of the gifts, but we lose our confidence. We believe that that we can't access them, or that you'll only get them in a certain way. I mean, how many of you like, I only get them through seeing, or I only go through knowing, or how I only get them through feeling? Like, we have a way that we will naturally be drawn to work with. When I first started really connecting with my intuition more consciously, I realized that I got a lot through feeling and seeing. Like, they were for me personally, they were like my main ones. And obviously kind of that natural knowing gift that for many of us that we have, we just know things are going to happen, or we know things about someone, or we know a situation, or you meet someone, or or like, it happens in the weirdest of ways, knowing. I just love it. But for me, when I first started, my hearing gifts were the thing I didn't listen, like, I didn't feel like I had strong hearing gifts. But now the hearing is like one of the strongest gifts that I use. So it's fascinating how when you really open yourself up, you will receive things in a different way. And I also just want to share, and this wasn't on my notes, but we're all mediums as well. Like, we can all connect to the loved ones who have crossed over if we choose to. Like, we all have access to that gift as well. Like, sometimes we feel like we have to go to a specific medium to be able to do that. Like, no, we can all call forward our loved ones as well. And it can be as simple as literally I like to use like a golden bridge, where you just you shut your eyes and you imagine a golden bridge with the loved one on the other side, and you ask them to step forward. So you visualize yourself walking across the golden bridge until you meet the middle, until you get to the middle of the bridge, and you imagine the loved one walking towards you, and you stand in front of each other and you connect with them, and you just see what wants to come through. So it can really be really powerful to witness. But one thing I will say, trust. And we're going to do some exercises together to really go into all of these gifts, but you must trust what comes up for you. It's the biggest hindrance as well, of not trusting, like, did I make that up, or maybe I just imagined that, or just to doubt and to second guess yourself. I want to talk about seeing first. We're going to talk about seeing gifts, because there's a lot of misconception around how you're going to receive your seeing gifts. A lot of the time we think, well, does that mean it's like going to be like projected in front of me, like in the real world? Like, am I going to see a projection of something? Is that going to like turn up in physical form in front of me? And is that how I'm going to see it? For some of you, that might be the case, but for many people it isn't. And that's the same with loved ones. Sometimes you might just get a knowing that someone's around you. You're not actually going to necessarily see a human form in physical form. It will be like a projection of someone into like a matrix, like into that space. So if I was to say to you, a red apple, as I am saying a red apple, you're seeing a red apple, like you're visualizing a red apple in your head, right? If I say a red apple, can you see a red apple in your head, in your mind's eye, in your visualization, in your head? Can you see a red apple? Give me a nod, give me a wave. Yeah, cool. And every single one of us, our red apples will all be different. Like, all of our red apples will be completely different. Some of you might have a leaf on it. Some of you might have they'll all be different shades of red, but you're all seeing a red apple. And it's the same if I was to say, I love this one. Imagine a dog wearing a yellow scarf. Imagine a dog wearing a yellow scarf. You're all seeing a dog with wearing a yellow scarf. And then when I ask you to like tune in a bit deeper, what breed is your dog? Like how many, like, you know, and you could write down your breed of dog if you want in the chat, but what does, you know, everyone, if you're saying a dog with a yellow scarf, yeah, like Doberman, Golden Retriever, Corgi, like, yeah, like amazing that a couple of you all said have said corgis. That's hilarious. Maybe it's the British accent that's like bringing in some kind of corgi vibes. My pit Julia, exactly. So we all have, when I said a dog with a yellow scarf, that's how you're seeing messages most of the time will come in. Like it will just be like a visualization in your head. And we can get stuck on that it will look different in a way. Like we'll get stuck that it needs to be complicated in how we see our messages, and it doesn't. It can be as simple as seeing the red apple or seeing the dog with the yellow scarf. I like to use this space, and it's funny, this is like being called in whilst I was channeling through the book of a new way of explaining all of this. So I'm gonna be using this with you guys and sharing this for kind of like the first time as well. So I like to use this space called the empty room, and we're going to be doing some exercises together in the empty room where we go into this space called the empty room, and we're going to practice and see what comes up for us. And so what we're going to do together, and I want you to just stay as open as possible and go with the flow and just see what comes up for you. But I'm going to guide you through an exercise so that you can tap into your seeing gifts and see what comes up. All I would say is, and I've said this again, I've said this earlier, trust, 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 trust what comes up for you. What I want you to do is just shut your eyes and get comfortable. And we're going to go into this space for you to see some of your seeing messages and what might come up for you, and be really open to what comes through. So just shut your eyes and get comfortable. And what we're going to do, just listen to my voice. Sometimes it can be distracting, and you might want to run forward or get lost in your own thoughts, but just keep bringing it back to this space that I'm going to call us forward and call us into. So what I want you to do is just to get comfortable and just take a really big, deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. We're going to imagine roots coming out of the base of your spine. And I want you just to imagine these roots going down into the earth, just grounding you down and down and down and down into the center of Mother Earth, grounding your energy in. And as these roots go down and they reach the center of the earth, I just want you to imagine them being tied in or weighted down. And then you're going to imagine life force energy coming all the way back up the roots, this life force energy. And as it moves all the way through and up the roots that you created, it's going to enter your body, the base of your feet, the bottom of your spine. And you're going to send this energy again all the way up the spinal column. And then you're going to imagine it coming out of the top of your head. And as this golden light comes out of the top and flows down your face and your neck and your shoulders and down your arms and down your legs and down your body. And then you're going to take a really big deep breath of this golden light into the heart space as it turns your intuitive gifts on, this energy faucet to receive your gifts. And so I want you now to imagine yourself in an empty room. Whatever the empty room looks like for you, but imagine this empty room space. And in this empty room, we're just going to call on again on our spirit team to support us during this. But in this empty room, you're going to be asked to see some intuitive messages. We're going to ask to see some intuitive messages. And if at any time you have trouble seeing something, I want you to imagine that you have a torch in your hand, which you can use to shine the light into the empty room to make it clearer for you. So in this empty room, I want you to ask to be shown a color. A color. I want you to see a color in this empty room. Go with the first thing that comes up. Don't second guess it. Go with the color that comes up. Trust what's being shown. What color are you seeing? And I just want you to notice the shade of this color as well. But ask yourself, what does this color mean for me? What does this color mean for me? Does it bring up any emotions for you? Does this color bring up any emotions for you? Does it make you happy? Does it make you sad? Does it make you angry? What does this color represent for you in this moment? And you can also ask, what does it mean for me today? What's the message for me today in seeing this color? And if nothing comes through, that's all cool. Ask yourself, what does this color mean? The next thing that I'd like you to do, and you can say this out loud or in your head, I want to see a word or phrase. Let me see a word or a phrase that will give me insight or some guidance today. You are going to imagine this word or this phrase being written in the empty room. You might see it in front of you, but just notice if there is a word or a phrase. And if you're not seeing anything, use the torch and see what gets written in front of you. And it might even be shown to you in a particular typeface. You might see it like a movie or a cartoon. But what does the word look like? And once you have a word, go, and it could just be just trust what came up. Ask yourself, how does this word help me today? What is the message for me in this? And if you're not sure what it means, don't worry. And now we're going to ask for a symbol to appear in the empty room. A symbol that is something for you, and you're going to ask to see it in this empty room space. Could be a heart, a square, triangle. Trust what you're seeing. What is the symbol? What does it mean to you? And if you don't know, it's all cool. Just trust that you've seen it. And then when you're ready, slowly wiggle your hands and your toes and come back into the space. And then using the journal or the piece of paper that you've got, write down anything that came up for you. And also if something came through that you have a question on, I mean, you can save the questions for later. If there's anything urgent and you're feeling really stuck, please write it into the chat box and I can briefly chat to it, but we are going to be doing the Q&A. Just a raise of hands, how many of you saw something in the empty room space? How many of you saw a word or a phrase? Awesome. If you didn't, a lot of the time also, and I will share this, is that we can also, our gifts can combine themselves. So we can combine, so you might get like hearing and seeing, you might get seeing and knowing, you might get seeing and feeling. They all work as a combination. Sometimes they don't work like in silos. They all work as a combination. So trust that too. Like, I'm just doing it this way because sometimes it can be easier to break it out. But if you're getting them as multiple layered, like, just trust that that's part of it too. Yeah. And Claire, I saw the phrase happiness is one day at a time. Then I saw the word die and it freaked me out. Okay, interesting. The message that comes through with that is like, sometimes when we see the word, it's not necessarily die. It can actually mean like death. Like we're all on like this big death and rebirth cycle right now. And so it might not necessarily mean like that as such. It's mean like, what are you holding on to that is stopping you from being in that happiness? Yeah, and a couple of you are just saying that it didn't come through as seeing, but as a knowing or a feeling what your word was, or your phrase was, and that's cool. Like, we're all different. We're all going to receive things in different ways. It's just you trusting what's coming through for you. Risa, I saw a tiger. Does that count? Oh my God, yes. Like hell yes. I would then ask, what does the tiger mean for me? What does a tiger mean for me? And what does it mean for my life right now? Cool. Ryan just mentioned something. Before you even asked to see a color, I saw a red door in my room. A lot of the time when we do group stuff like this, we can see what's coming next before I've said it. Trust that as well, because it's just how the energy flows. And you'll also know that we're all connected energetically, so there will be crossover between it because the energy flows between us all as a group. Yeah. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna we've done the seeing part, and I now want to step into knowing, because knowing is funny as knowing is really, well, yeah, it's funny as a gift, because sometimes it doesn't make sense, and it doesn't make sense until after the situation where you knew something to be true. And I briefly shared about this earlier. Like, it can even be and I guess this is different times of where we are right now, but do you know when you like drive home, or you decide to go a different route, and you like really, you trust the intuition, they're like, no, don't go that route, go this way. And then when you get home, you found out that there was like an accident on the freeway and you would have been stuck for 3 hours, and you just knew that you had to go that way. or that you have to call a friend and you're just like getting that intuitive hit, like I gotta call them, and then you call them and they're like going through something really challenging, and then it's a relief that you called. Like, it's just really tapping into those spidery, I was reminded of this phrase, like your spidery senses, where it just feels like, and sometimes it doesn't necessarily feel like a gift at all. It just feels like, oh, it's just something I do. But when we really consciously like listen to the knowing, and more importantly, take action on the knowing, because that's where we also where we also get stuck on things within the knowing. I'm trying to think of an example of a knowing that for me personally. Okay, yeah, this is a knowing. Back in January, I got the intuitive hit to go and buy masks for online, and my partner at the time thought I was kind of crazy, being like, well, why are you buying a mask? And I was like, just a feeling, just doing it. And then when everything kicked off, he was like, oh, okay, I get it now. Like, it sometimes, that's why it can sometimes feel like crazy or weird when you do stuff, and then but you have to like listen to your intuition on it. Like, I'll just say, like, those knowings, those deep knowings, listen to them, take action on them. And it's a muscle. So the more you take action, the more you trust, the more intuitive messages you're going to receive, which I know is kind of, it feels like even more daunting, but the more you take, the more you trust, the more you're going to receive, the more you're going to feel more confident, the more guidance you're going to get. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go back into the empty room space, and we're just going to do an exercise to really like boost your knowing capacity. So, bit of knowing. If you shut your eyes and get comfy, we're going to step into the knowing space. And just take that deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. Just grounding you in. And I want you to imagine like an energy faucet at the top of your head. And this energy faucet that you have is there to turn your gifts on and off for you to be able to use them whenever you need. So I want you to imagine and visualize this energy faucet at the top of your head being turned on. And as this energy faucet gets turned on, it's going to flow all the way over your body, opening up your intuitive portal so we can step into this knowing. So I want you to put your hands onto your solar plexus, which is normally just an inch above the belly button, as we kind of connect to this space of knowing. And I want you to take a few deep breaths and breathe into this energy center, filling it with your breath, consciously reactivating this portal. And just notice how it feels today, whether it feels fired up or whether it feels tired or whether it feels non-energetic, but really tune into that space in your body. And as you do this, we're going to imagine a gold light entering the empty room. So imagine yourself back into the empty room as this golden light enters the empty room, fills it up. And as this golden light enters the empty room, I want you to imagine it to enter into your body where your hands are. And it might feel warm, it might feel pulsating, but you're going to imagine this golden light filling up your solar plexus energy center, filling up this place of knowing, trust, self-worth. Just notice, how does it feel in your body? How does it feel in your body? Now, I want you, while we're doing this, if you can, to remember a time in your life when you just knew something to be true. When you knew something to be true, an inner knowing about a person or a situation. And I want you to visualize it in this empty room space. So imagine the person in the empty room, imagine the place, imagine that you're there, experiencing this knowing. And now I want you to feel into your body and just body scan. Where did this knowing come from in your body? And this area of your body might light up, you might feel it, you might just know it. But was it in your heart? Was it in your solar plexus? Was it in your head? Or was it somewhere else? Where in your body do you feel your knowing in particular? And then just take a really big deep breath of this golden energy again into the solar plexus. And as you do this, I'm being told that you need to breathe this golden energy in, and you're going to visualize it coming out of your mouth like a dragon, like the fire, as we needed, as part of this channeled message for this group, was that you needed to step into your fire. So as you breathe this in this empty room, I want you to imagine fire moving through your whole body as it comes out of your mouth. And you could even make a noise of a as you step into this power and this knowing. And when you're ready, slowly wiggle your hands and your toes and come back round. Whew. I wanted to share, I saw lots of you yawning, and I love yawning. Yawning is good. Yawning is when we connect with our intuition, yawning is like an energy transfer where it goes through. And sometimes when you're connecting to spirit and your intuition, it can show up as yawning. And a lot of the time it's knowing that that happens. For example, when I'm chatting to my sister on the phone, she yawns throughout our whole conversation, and we laugh because she's like, it's only when I'm talking to you that I will just spend like 20 minutes like yawning. So just notice it as an energy transfer. And also when you're yawning and it feels like you're yawning but you're not tired, ask yourself, like, who's trying to get hold of me? What's the intuitive message? What am I ignoring? Like, it's so funny as I'm talking about yawning, so many of you are just like sporadically yawning now. But notice it as an energy transfer because it's really potent and really powerful, especially when we're like connecting to the throat chakra as well. Like, it's really, yeah, it really comes out. So just notice the yawning and what wants to come through. The other thing that you can do with knowing, and which I also love, is create a knowing journal. Like, write down what your knowing intuitive hit was, and then take action on it, and then write the result down later on, because then you kind of get a gauge of whether the intuitive, like, of what the outcome was. And we can also get really stuck on what we think a positive outcome is versus what a negative one is, and not knowing that sometimes the intuitive message is to go and do something. So we have to learn about something, or to meet a certain person, or to have a connection, or to have an experience, so that we then get the next intuitive hit to move on. Like, we can get really stuck on our, like, on working out whether like a message is good or bad, like or that the outcome is good or bad, or that you made a mistake when it's like, oh, I followed that intuitive message and it wasn't the outcome that I thought. Does that mean that I shouldn't have trusted my intuition and I made a mistake with the message I received? I always say no, because that was the learning that you were supposed to have from taking the action of that message. Yeah, which for me personally, by taking action, has meant that I've done some really powerful healing and discovered more about myself along the way, versus this need to feel like this need for perfection with your intuition. It's not going to be your intuitive voice. It's actually about releasing perfection, which again is, I'll be straight up, is part of patriarchal colonialist programming, is this need for things to be of perfection. Like, yeah, we've got to let the perfection programming go. Vitalia just said that she started a diary yesterday. Love it. And create and start an intuition journal. Like, actually, like, log your messages and your hits and the things that you're getting. I wish I'd started one during my spiritual reactivation. I wish I kept a journal of everything I went through, like, in depth. Yeah, keep one. It's really fascinating to look back on. Cool. We are now going to jump into a little bit of hearing. So we've done feeling. Oh, no, we've done seeing, we've done knowing, and now we're going to do a bit of hearing. Hearing, yes. So hearing will 9 times out of 10 sound like your voice. It is going to sound like your voice in your head. It is not always going to sound, it's not going to sound like the voice of God coming through, or you'll suddenly start hearing a man's voice or a woman's voice or some strange voice. It's going to sound like you, which can be then really off-putting, because then you're like, well, how on earth do I know the difference between my own? Like, how do I know the difference if it's an intuitive message or not, or whether I'm making it up? I like to describe it that we have, and I could talk for hours on this, but this is the like top highlighted version. We have our intuitive voice, we have our ego voice, and we have our fear-based voice. Your intuitive voice, when you hear it, is gonna sound, it will come in and then it's gonna disappear. So the intuitive voice and the intuitive message, it will come in, it's going to give you guidance, and then it's going to leave. The ego fear-based mind is going to keep chattering at you. Got to do this, got to do this. Do I do this? Should I do this? Do I take action on that? Is this the right thing to do? Your intuitive voice is going to come in. It's going to be calm. It will be grounded. It will feel like your I like to describe it, it's like your best friend coming in that's got some really good advice for you, and it will come in, it will give you the guidance, and then it's going to leave. The fear-based ego mind will keep chattering at you. The intuitive voice, when you also hear it, it normally comes from the back of the head, and it will feel like it comes from the back of the head, versus your ego fear-based mind is going to feel very frontal, like front of the head. So that's a great way of distinguishing as well, of like, is it my voice or is it my intuitive voice? When our hearing gifts are getting reactivated, ear buzzing. Let's talk about the ear buzzing, because it is so off-putting when we get, it sounds like, when I first got it, I thought I had tinnitus. I'll be straight up. I was like, what is going on? So if you're someone that is been experiencing a lot of ear buzzing recently, just as we've been going through lots of changes as through the collective, ear buzzing is possible too. So you can normally get a lot when you're first having a spiritual reactivation and you're opening yourself up to all of this. It can also happen as you up level your gifts. Like even now I get ear buzzing when my gifts are up leveling. And my ear buzzing also happens when I'm ignoring messages and my guides are trying to get through to me and they're like, hello, will you fucking listen to me, please? Trying to get your attention. And or when a loved one, or there's some mediumship coming in, they're like letting me know that there's a spirit that wants to get in touch with me. They'll also, my ears will buzz or my ears will ring. I've started to learn for me personally which side it's on as well. Like you might get it on one side versus a different side, and what it means to you. Like it's all very nuanced. But sometimes if my ears are buzzing, I will just say, what's the message I hear you? Give it to me. And then see what happens through the other intuitive hits or the feelings that you get or what wants to come through. But again, it's that trusting. And if the ear buzzing doesn't go away, what do I say to that? I actually ask them to stop. I'll be straight up, like, stop. I can't, you just turn it. Can you turn the ear buzzing down a little bit? Remember, you're in charge of your intuitive body, like massively. You can say no and say like, okay, enough of the ear ringing, please. I'm done with this. Yeah, free will, as Krista said. Like otherwise with our intuitive gifts, it can feel like we're not in charge, and we're like always reacting to spirit, source, God, whatever that is. But we can make a conscious decision. That's why, do you know the energy faucet that I was talking about? Like you can imagine it being turned on or turned off. Like that's what is a conscious, like when I'm not working, that faucet is turned off and I'm saying no. And even if I'm walking down the street and a spirit's trying to get hold of me, hey, I see, oh, you see me. I'm like, no, not today. Yeah, I see you, but I don't want to interact with you. So know that you can do that too. What we're gonna do is I want you to, we're just gonna practice some hearing and see how hearing comes through for you. And trusting hearing and just see how it flows. So I like to also describe it like it's like tuning a radio. Like it's like, how do we tune like an old school radio, like where we're like tuning out the noise and we're like fine dialing it so we can like listen to the messages, and it's like you're having to like tune it in. So shut your eyes and we're going to go back into the empty room space and we're going to practice some hearing and see how you're going to, how it kind of comes through, for you. Okay. So just take a really big deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. And just noticing that energy faucet at the top of your head and just making sure that it's turned on and it's flowing, and this golden or life force energy is flowing over your face and down your neck and down your shoulders and down your whole body. And as you do this, I just want you to listen to all the noises around you now, in your house, in your apartment, wherever you are right now. What can you hear? And you'll be able to hear more than one sound at once right now. What different things can you hear? Could be your own heartbeat, the pipes, your neighbors, the wind, your clothes, but just noticing what you're hearing around you. And now I just want you to focus in on one sound at a time. What can you hear in your space? What can you hear outside? But just to focus on one thing, not all of them, but one of them, pinpointing in your ears. And once you've had that and you're listening to everything around you with my voice thrown in as well, we're going to bring in our sound memories. our sound memories in the empty room, because it's a way that we can reactivate our hearing gifts. So I want you to imagine, because imagination is so important with our intuition. I want you to imagine the sound of a ticking clock. I want you to imagine the sound of a ticking clock. What does it sound like for you? And once you've got that sound of the ticking clock in your head or in your body, in your ears, I want you to imagine the wind blowing through trees. Imagine wind blowing through trees. What does it sound like? Now imagine a time in your life that brought you happiness and joy. And I want you to imagine yourself back there. Imagine yourself back in a time of joy and happiness, and just soak in what noises were around you at this time. What noises were around you at this time. Taking all of the senses in. And now I want you to imagine that you're in a crowd, in a large stadium, full of people. And I want you to hear all the noises around you, like you're stood in a stadium of thousands of people. And taking in all the noise of all the people around you. But your friend is standing next to you. And they are talking to you, but it's hard to hear over the noise of the crowd. So I want you to imagine yourself tuning into a friend that stood next to you and focus on their voice. And imagine the background noise fading out. What is your friend saying? Can you hear their voice? What are they saying? Can you hear their voice? And let's let the sound of the stadium disappear. And in this empty room, we're going to call forward our intuitive gifts and say out loud or in your head, I want to hear a word or a phrase that might give me some guidance today. I want to hear a word or a phrase that might give me some guidance today. And just see what comes up. See what comes up. Trust what comes up. And if you haven't got anything, or you're doubting what you've got, just ask for it again. Ask for it again. If you haven't got anything, ask to hear it in a different way. Say, I want to hear it a different way, please. Remember, you're in charge. You can ask for it a different way. And then when you're ready, slowly come back into the room. Whew. Write down anything you heard or any experiences that you felt, or how many of you heard something? How many of you felt like you heard something? Awesome. If you didn't hear anything, but you felt like it was a knowing or it came through a different way, trust that as well. Yeah. Sometimes also it can, yeah, like Rand just said, I got a very, very intense emotional feeling that felt very heavy, and I heard the word release. Awesome. Like sometimes it can like be that's why this combination is really important. Like it can come through as a feeling, and then you'll hear what's needed. Like trust the flow of it. It's different. And you'll hear, and also you can balance it out. For me personally, I was always getting the hearing on the right side of my body, like always in the right ear, and it was feeling really imbalanced. So I actually asked my guides, I actually said, hey, can you give it to me like in both ears, please? Because this imbalance stuff is really bugging me, like especially when I was doing client sessions with people. And so you can also do that with your own personal messages and say, hey, I want to receive it through both ears, please. Like, can we balance this out? So if you're finding that it's always on one side, ask for it to be like balanced out between both, because otherwise it can, honestly, it can get a little bit frustrating as well. Right. So we've done hearing. I want to talk briefly about feeling. Oof, because feeling is one of the ways that many of us receive our messages, especially with what's happening in the world right now. A lot of us are feeling like we're getting a lot of a lot of feeling messages, especially when for many intuitives, we're all empaths. We're all really highly sensitive people. In fact, to be honest with you, most of the human population are empaths and highly sensitive people, but we just don't really realize it. So and it's all about how we tune into our feeling gifts. For many of us, it can feel like it's too much to take on the energy of others. So we shut our intuitive feeling gifts down because we don't want to open ourselves up to more information that's coming through our body. So actually it can be seen not as a superpower. It can actually be felt like the feeling gifts are a hindrance. So it's about how we can shift the perception of our feeling gifts. There's episodes on the podcast I want to share, and there's a whole chapter in the book, but I don't have time to go through it in massive detail on that right now, around energetic self-sovereignty and how there are so many rituals and tools and practices for you to be in your energetic sovereignty for your feeling gifts, because it's really connected, so that you feel confident in opening up your feeling gifts, so that you can feel and get the messages and guidance from others, but also know that you're not taking on the energy of others as well, because that's really, really important right now. It's like practicing that discernment of you opening up and not at the same time. But one of the ways that I love using my feeling gifts for making decisions is hell yes, heck no, or hell yes, hell no. Like when we can start to know what those really feel like in our body, you can use them to make decisions in your life, like really make decisions in your life. And instead of asking your head, which is what so many of us do, we like, oh, what should I do? Oh, I'll just have a think about it. Versus really dropping into the heart space and into the sacral chakra and into the root chakra about like, what do I need to know? And shall I take action on this? And the subtleties that come through from this are really powerful, and they're also a blend of some of the other gifts as well. So what we're going to do is I want you to discover what hell yes and heck no mean for you, so that you can start practicing with it in your everyday life. Like I use this daily. Even with, I'll be straight up, like intuitive eating and what I fancy eating, like it's like, does my body really want this today? No. Okay, no, it doesn't. It's on everything from that to other big decisions as well. So, but I use it as a daily thing just to make general based decisions all the time. So what we're going to do is we're going to call our guides forward, and we are going to really discover what that feels like in our body today. So shut your eyes one more time, and we're going to go into the empty room space and discover what this hell yes, heck no feels like for us. Okay. So I want you to imagine that you're in the empty room and the energy faucet is turned on above your head. And we're going to call our spirit team forward as we really open up our energetic, intuitive body to feel the messages, to allow us to feel the subtleties in our bodies. And as we ask them to step forward even more, you might even begin to feel them. You might feel warmth, you might feel tingles, you might feel sensations. You might just feel it in your little finger. You might feel it in your heart space. You might feel it on just one side of your body, but we're going to call them forward so that you feel. And what we're going to do is I want you to imagine white light entering the room. Imagine white light entering the room as it comes all the way into your body. And you're going to be asked to be shown what a hell yes feels in your body. Show me a hell yes. And you can say it out loud or in your head. Show me a hell yes. And ask, what does it feel like? What is the sensations are coming up for you? Tune into those small subtleties. What does a hell yes feel like? Where do you feel it? What does it feel like for you? I also get a green go sign, so you might see a message that comes with your hell yes as well. So trust what's coming up for you. Now, once you have that hell yes, and trust what's coming up, trust how it feels, try not to second guess it. Ask to be shown what a heck no is in your body. Ask to be shown the opposite. What is a heck no? What does it feel like? What sensations coming up? Normally it feels heavier. The energy might feel shut off. Do you feel cold? How does it feel in your heart? Where do you feel it? Where do you feel it? I also get like a red and a stop sign when I have this. But what does heck no feel like for you? And when once you've got that and you feel that that's there, switch it again. Ask to be shown hell yes, so you can see the difference and see the shift in your body. Say, show me hell yes. Show me hell yes. Show me a hell yes. See the feeling move as it shifts from the heck no to a hell yes. And then what I'd love for you to do, I want you to imagine a question that you have in your life right now. What question would you love to be answered? What question would you need guidance on right now? Preferably if it's a yes or a no answer. But what I want you to do is I want you to visualize that question. Visualize that question. And I want you to visualize this question with your seeing gifts. Visualize it. Wrap it in white light. So imagine white light all the way around this question. And then bring in a green light around the edge. See this green tinge. And I want you to breathe this question all the way into your heart. Breathe this question all the way into your heart space that you have in your life right now. and ask yourself and be honest with yourself. Does it feel like a hell yes, or does it feel like a heck no? As you breathe it all the way in, what does it feel like in your heart? Do we step out from asking what our head thinks and we move it into the heart? Trust what's coming up for you. And then when you're ready, slowly come back around, wiggling your hands and your toes, coming back into the space. Oof. And just noticing and just writing down writing down what a hell yes felt like, or writing down what the hell no, heck no felt like, just so that you can use it as a referral point. I had a client once that she just said, hell yes, I just feel it in my little finger on my right hand. She's like, it's the weirdest sensation ever. And it always just got stuck in her little finger. So yeah, and it's something that you can practice as well. If you feel like, was that a thing? Did I get that? Am I making this up? So yeah, just really, it's something that you can really strengthen so that you then really know what a hell yes is or what a hell no is. And I'll be honest, like I use that as my way to make decisions as I move through life every day. And it's just, it allows me to really drop it into what it feels like to make decisions intuitively versus what I think I should be doing. And I'll be honest and I'll be really transparent. Of course, we all have the ego, we all have the fear-based mind, the fear voice and the ego voice. And so it's navigating what that then feels like, and trusting that, especially when we're going through such uncertain times. It's like, my one piece of advice for using your intuition in uncertain times is finding what it feels like to be in your own energy so that you can discern what the hell yes and the hell no is really important. So noticing if you're over consuming the news, social media, talking to friends, the heightened panic that comes with it all, so that you know when you're truly in your energy what it feels like for the hell yes, the hell no, and the other intuitive guidance that comes in. Otherwise it can end up getting a bit like jumbled. So yeah, that's what I would say around that. And I know that I have Krista with a little kitty on her lap.
She loves, like, whenever there's like intuitive stuff, she's so into it. It's hilarious.
Yeah, do you know what? The amount of client sessions I do, one-on-one client sessions, where the animal lands on the person's lap. Like I've done sessions for people where they're like dogs have been like all over them and they're like, can't get the dog off. And I've done like these, like, it's wild.
She's like my little healer. And look, she's got a little bandage on because she just got a little surgery. But that was amazing. And I love that you were perfectly on time. So we have the perfect amount of time available for our Q&A.
It's my Virgo rising. Like I
I'm
like
Virgo rising too.
it gets, well, no, it's great. It's the old the intuition and the needs for that is also very interesting as well. Like it's amazing how we our personality and the astrology kind of fits with the intuitive ways as well.
I love that. So we have our full time for Q&A, which is really exciting. So we can start putting those in the chat, actually, because we don't have a Q&A feature. And then we'll go pretty much in order and just be mindful. I think for this, Natalie, you know, I want to be thoughtful about the way in which you want to facilitate the Q&A, and knowing that people what are your thoughts on people asking personal questions from their guides, or what do you think?
I knew, it's so funny because I got this ping. I was like, oh, I think I'm honestly, like, if it's an intuitive question or there's something that's like short and personal that wants to come through, yeah, go for it. Like I'm all ears. So if
Perfect.
ideally it's a question on like something intuitive that something's coming up for you, or you're experiencing something and you don't know what it means, or there's a question that that you're experiencing. But if there's something that is like you want me to channel through, cool, go for it.
Love it. Okay. All right, you guys, we can get started. We can just pop on in the chat and I would love to see. Okay, perfect. We're starting. Okay. So, Lauren, what are your thoughts about seeing figures in the dark? A few times a year, I wake up in the middle of the night and I see animals or people, turn the light on and scream, but I don't see anything. It's been happening for years.
Yeah. So the seeing gifts have become more prevalent when it's more shadowy. So when I was doing a lot of my own psychic development stuff, it was done in the dark because you can actually see more, like, because I'll be on, like, when it's done in candlelight you can see more versus when it's in like natural light. So the fact that you saw it when it was dark and then you turn the lights on and it was gone, I'm not surprised. So it's a blend of learning, and being confident that it's nothing negative that's coming through for you. Again, it's that block of, oh my God, I'm seeing something at night, I'm seeing something in the dark, and automatically thinking that it's a bad or negative spirit, versus being like, okay, why are you showing up to me? What is this animal here to give guidance for? So sometimes I will if a spirit or that is coming for me in the middle of the night, or I'm getting a thing, I will be like, okay, for me personally, I'm like, okay, is it a man? Is it a woman? Who is it? Like, I tune into what the energy is. And if it's an energy that I don't want to connect to, I'm like, I basically say, no, I'm not connecting with you. I'll even also put, I have this tool called putting out the dogs, which is where I put my spirit guard dogs out by my bed. So I call on my pack of guard dogs, and I use them at night if I want to be extra shielded, or if there's an energy that I don't want to call in. So but if it's a spirit that I do want to connect with and they're giving me messages in night, I will be like, what do you want to say? And I'll have the conversation with them, because sometimes they'll keep coming back until, especially if they're like a benevolent spirit, they'll keep coming back until you listen to them. But I would just say, Lauren, just remember you're in charge. Again, it's like you're in charge, because again, it's that fear that we're not in charge of this. So yeah, that's what I would say. Lauren. And also notice if it's loved ones in spirit they're trying to get hold of you as well, because that just pinged in that it actually might be loved ones in spirit trying to get hold of you. So just be open to the loved ones that want to come through.
Yeah, I love that. Figuring out that you're in charge was huge for me. You know, I think you taught me that, and that's really changed everything in my relationship with spirits and being intuitive. So
yeah, because seeing is wild. Like the amount of people, like even high, like I not even naming name, like some of the people who are highly intuitive, they fear seeing things.
Yeah.
Like they're seeing things is the thing that they fear the most. But knowing, once you kind of get in that space of like, well, I'm in charge of this, and it's transformational.
100%. You can even communicate with the dark, whatever it is, and just tell them to come another way if they have a message that you need to hear.
Yeah, big time. And I remember as a kid having this like negative, darker energy man appear in my dreams all the time. He used to freak me out, and it was only in my dream state that I turned around to him in my dreams, and I was like, you have no power over me, back away, and I'm done with seeing you. And I faced him, an energy that tormented me as a kid, and I remember before I fell asleep being like, if he comes in my dreams, I'm turning at him and I'm telling him like, no. And so I did in the dream. I faced him and just was like, you have no power over me. It's a phrase I'm using a lot right now with negative entities, and you just, and they honestly, it shifts it and they go.
Love that.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Do you have any thoughts on seeing numbers? Years ago, I started seeing the same numbers over and over, like 444, 1111, 222, 333. Do you still think this is a sign of some sort?
Yes, but, and this is interesting, and I talk about this in the book, for me personally, I feel like they're just a reminder that we're in the matrix. Like, instead of getting so het up on which every friggin' number means, like 111, 222, 333, and getting so specific on what every single one means, that it's just a reminder that we're in the matrix. So use it as a tool that you're on the right path and that you're on the right track, versus getting bogged down of trying to decode every single number sequence that comes your way, because there are a lot of people out there that are living their life based on number sequences, and that for me just feels like really being out of your power, running your life and making decisions just based on number sequences. So I would just say that comes for me personally, I just use them as like, I know I'm in the matrix and I know I'm in the right path and I'm on the right track.
Love that. Beautiful. Where did I go? Okay. So that's kind of the same question, that Lauren asked. I'm generally a more logical person, and so sometimes I tend to brush some of the signs off that I've asked for because I think maybe it's my brain making things appear because I really want that sign. This is where I start to doubt my intuition. How do you navigate that?
Yeah, I so feel you. It's like, am I making this happen? I feel feel you. Um, Honestly, trust and surrender and practice, and just realizing that you can be logical and be intuitive at the same time. Don't discredit your logic and think that you have to ignore your logic completely, because you might even say that part of being logical is being intuitive at the same time. So there is crossover. Again, it's like that human labeling that we put on everything, that it has to all fit a certain box. When a sign appears, people, like friends always just say to me, they're like, Nat, you're the one person that when they get a message, you take action on it. That's how you and you live authentically by that, based on that. So for example, I asked for a sign yesterday. I said, show me the sign of a butterfly if I should apply for my Canadian passport before I leave this apartment, because it means I'd have to change my address and loads of other stuff. Anyway, so I asked, show me a butterfly. I went to a chiropractor appointment. I came back from the chiropractor appointment. The first music track that I turned on was a song, and the lyrics were all about butterflies. And I was like, okay, yeah, got the message. Thanks. Going to apply for the part, going to just do this in the next 2 weeks and make it happen. And now that's on my to-do list, based on me asking for a sign and then receiving the sign literally like an hour later and then taking action on it. So yeah, that's how I would just trust it and navigate what wants to come through. And if you don't see a sign, because then we can get really het up if you ask and then you don't see a sign, and then I don't get fixed on seeing signs. If you're then like, oh my god, where is it, and you're like, suddenly the intention energetically is a bit wrong. Like you have to practice surrender with the signs, because if you get too fixed on like, where I said I wanted to see a butterfly, like where is it, and you're looking at t-shirts and the back of number plates and everything, you're missing the point of working with the sign. You have to surrender it up, and then when it appears, you're like, oh, okay, cool, I can now take action.
Love that. Yeah, it's the thing of always like when you you ask for a sign, then you get it and you're like, okay, one more. Everyone's like always like, we need one more sign. Because one sign is never enough.
Yeah.
I like my signs in dollar bills. Okay. I hear music constantly that isn't playing and no one else can hear it. Is this an intuitive thing or?
Yes. Yeah. Big time. I love it. I love hearing music that's just suddenly here that plays. If it's a music track, like listen to the lyrics of the track. So if it's a particular music track that you're hearing that no one else can hear, listen to the lyrics because it's a message for you. I had an energy clearing session the other day, and I heard this music come in, and it was like really like lyrical and angelic, and I was like, is there music playing in this room? Like, where's this coming from? And then I realized that it was connected to the woman who was doing the clearing session. It was her guide was really lyrical. So Kim, I would just ask yourself, like, is my guide got a musical element to them, that they're just showing, they're letting me know that they're around when I hear the music that comes through? Because that's what it feels like, Kim. It feels like your guide is connected to this music, and you should yeah, connect to them, yeah, use it as a thing, and or ask for more guidance from the music if it is lyrical, if that makes sense.
Love that. Elizabeth asks, I've always dealt with scary, intrusive, sometimes disturbing thoughts or images that are not me. How do I get rid of these?
Yeah. Where do I want to start with that? I'm sorry, I'm just tuning into I'm just tuning into your energy, Elizabeth, of where that comes from, what that means. This is how they want to say this. Like, you actually have a real gift of holding space for the more negative energies of that. Like, for some of us, we actually work with like moving people to the other side, or helping people navigate between life and death. And that just feels like there's that's something that you are, you're gifted at that. But when it is the when you're really feeling like they're not, that you want them to stop as well, I would be really calling on my team for shielding. I've stopped using the word protection, because protection just feels really disempowering. It feels really like guarded, versus it feeling like, again, that you're more in control. Like, protection just feels like you're like, it just feels like you're taking a step back, versus like you're really in your power. But I would just say that I would use your spirit team for shielding. I would like actually call them forward and ask for, like, either putting like an energetic force field. I also when those images appear, I would ask them to go specifically as well, and just say, I don't want to see that, thank you very much, and like move on. And I would also be doing I mean, I use a lot of salt, so I'd be using all the salt baths, salt under your bed if the imagery is happening while you sleep. Bring out the guard dogs. I have a pot of salt underneath my bed, which I change every couple of weeks. That really helps. Yeah, that's what I would say, Elizabeth, if yeah, if that's been coming up for you. And if you also feel really called, go and get an energy clearing from someone that can actually like help you remove a negative energy that's like maybe connected to you in some way, that you feel like you want to for it to be removed. Like, sometimes, I mean, the work that I do, I mean, I can only do as much energy clearing on myself as I can, and then I go and also get the support of someone that I feel energetically connected to, that can help me remove any negative cords or things that stuck to me that I don't want in my field. So yeah.
Love that. Beautiful. I often randomly get chills through my whole body, and it causes my body to kind of jolt visibly. Usually one of my arms just flings randomly. Can this be a ping? From Allison.
Yes, oh my god, yeah, very much so. For me, when I get full body chills, it's when like a spirit's trying to get hold of me. So when I'm in a reading or I'm doing a session, I know that a loved one's trying to get hold of me, because I'll get like full like body chills. And or if I'm connecting to someone's guide and they're really stepping forward, like it can feel like a whole like body wave. But I didn't really, for me personally, before I started doing mediumship, I used to get body chills all the time, and I was just like, what is this? And then when I then dropped into the mediumship skills, I realized that the body chills was then a sign and a marker in my body for then me to go one step further and then be like, who are you? What do you look like? What do you have to say? And so, yes, that's what I would say for the body chills is like when you gain that confidence, like ask who's giving you the body chills.
Love that. Ryan says, I've had a few different experiences where I've heard the voice of someone, dreamt about, or seen things, and my intuitive hit has always connected it to a person who has passed away. How do I know what this means and where do I go with it?
I'm just reading this question as well, just so I can land and give you the answer that I know you want. So if you're dreaming about someone that's passed away and they are appearing in your dreams, I would then two things for you specifically. If you're getting a message for someone that's passed away, and you sometimes I will actually reach out to the loved one or the friend or the person that they're associated with and be like, hey, so and so came through in my dream, they have this message. If you feel cool to share it, like otherwise it kind of, yeah. Oh, and I always ask for permission first. I was like, hey, can I give you a message? Or hey, can I share an experience with you? And then share the message of the person that's come through. And or if you feel called, I also then, if it's a repeating person, I will move them to the light if they are stuck energetically on this plane and that they haven't moved, they're struggling to move forward. Sometimes if you get those repeating people, I will then move them to the light. How I personally do this is I see their energy, see who they are, and then I will imagine moving them up into the sky, up to like a golden portal or golden gate, and then I will ask them to step forward. And obviously my energy then doesn't cross that through that portal space, but I then help them to move through that space.
Powerful. Jessica asks, what are your thoughts on how psychedelics impact your intuition and hearing, seeing? Sometimes I feel like my intuition is magnified if I do them, but I've heard mixed things about this.
Great question. I have a whole section on this in my book, because I really think it's really personal, and I also really feel like there's a lot of pressure there can be a lot of pressure to do psychedelics because it will either speed up the connection to your gifts, or that we then heavily rely on the psychedelics to have the messages, versus again knowing that you don't need the psychedelics to be able to connect to your intuition. So I would always be asking myself, am I getting hooked into the psychedelics as a way to connect to my intuition? Am I just doing the psychedelics to speed up the process? Or am I using, like, what is the relationship to them healthy? There's no right or wrong answer. It's a personal journey to everyone, but I would just be really aware of where you're getting the psychedelics from and who you're doing them with, especially in the intuitive space, because everything is energy, even the psychedelics. So just noticing what comes through for you, and and just make sure that you're doing it in a way that feels grounded and aligned to you.
Perfect. Yeah, I've heard mixed reviews too, so I'm not exactly sure.
For me, I also personally feel like sometimes with the psychedelics, you're also like calling in, you can also open yourself up to more of the negative entities that want to come through, because you're like this open channel portal, and you might not necessarily be fully in charge of your energy that wants to come through, which is again why it's really important, like, where do the psychedelics come from? If you're doing Aya, who's who's brewing it, like who are the people that you're with, like it's again like practice the discernment like you would do anything else. Like, yeah, ask the questions and don't feel scared to ask the questions, because I think a lot of the time we don't ask the right questions of groups and things like that. So yeah.
Totally agree. Previously, I've struggled using meditation to connect with my guides. I've always worried there was something wrong with me. Recently, I've been having success using a pendulum, or at least I think. But is it okay to need to use a tool like a pendulum, or does that mean I need to do more work on my senses to be able to speak with my guides and ancestors directly?
Love it.
Well, I know.
No, like tools are great. Like I love tools. Tools are brilliant. Like I'll use my pendulum. Haven't got it in front of me right now because it was in a bag that I took on a recent travel trip. Because I was like, yeah, I'm taking my pendulum with me. Like you can use your tools however you want, but as I again like also notice when you're heavily relying on tools versus using the inner compass guidance system. Again, it's like that balance system of like, oh my God, am I always going to that card deck? Am I always going to my pendulum to ask versus trusting the hell yes, hell no? Because what happens those times that you don't have your pendulum, it's like, oh shit, again, it's like you're relying on that external, that tool to be able to do it. But, and it's funny, I'm supposed to share this, like I mentioned the Ouija board at the start at school. Ouija boards are actually awesome because it's actually a really slow way of communicating with your guides, because they spelling out every single word really, really slowly. Instead of you just getting the direct line, it can actually be all I would say, if you are ever called to do a Ouija board, just make sure that you put a candle above. This is how a mentor of mine told me. You just put a candle. A candle has to be higher than the tallest person in the group to keep the energy high. It's all about the energy that you're calling in. But most of the time, I mean, once when we practice, like we got the message and then it got spelt out. Like it was really weird. Like it's like just trusting the intuitive hit that comes through. Like actually a Ouija board is just a really slow way of communicating with your guides.
Wow. I've only heard scary things about Ouija.
Done in the right way with the right people, again,
Yeah.
right energy, right people, right practices. Yeah.
Scary. Okay. Allie says, I think I was shown a message last night. Felt like I was getting this message for the past week or so. And last night it was like it hit me smack in the face and I couldn't ignore it. At first I was excited. I knew it was a message, but then it scared me because it had to do with COVID. And the person who posted it was the same first and last name of my son. How can I understand what the message means?
I'm just reading it through as well. Okay. I would just, if you know, Ali, is there a fear that you're thinking your son is going to get COVID because the name is the same as your son? Is that what you're asking? I don't know if that's if they can write like a yes or a no.
Yeah, you can write in the comments, Allie. Yeah.
Okay. Great question. I would just ask yourself, is that stepping me out of, is that in my truth, or is that putting me into fear? Like, does that make you feel like, is that an intuitive hit, or is that just fear that is coming in to give you a message? It just, for me, energetically, that just feels a little fear-based versus like an intuitive message coming in. And so so I would just say listen to your own intuition. It's just the bit that's getting me energetically in your thing is like, I was excited because I knew it was a message, but then scared, and the person who posted it, there was like, I don't know, just notice how social media is like impacts your intuition and the messages you're receiving, because it can really heighten the fear and then make you doubt your intuition or twist the messages that are coming through. that would be my answer to that.
Yes. Beware of manipulative energies online.
Yeah.
Hannah says, how to allow the space for children to stay in touch with their intuition.
Great question. Open dialogue, like actually having an open dialogue and encourage them to share what they're seeing, feeling, and experiencing, and not to like tell them that it's not real or they're making it up. Like if they feel confident in sharing it, they will continue to share it, and they'll continue to tap into whatever they're seeing, feeling, and experiencing. It's just like as kids that we had like amazing wild imaginations. Like it's exactly the same thing. Like our imagination is connected to our intuition, so encouraging children's imagination is key. But that then relates to all of us now. Like use your imagination. Your imagination is part of your intuition, like that creative portal that taps into. So that's what I would say around children, and just encouraging them.
Love that. I feel like Ali says, I feel like I block some messages because I don't want it to be the truth. Like I fight it as I don't want the outcome. How can I control my intuition for it to win over my needs and wants? I think we can all relate to that one.
Yeah, you can't control your intuition. That's just and in fact, this week's episode on the podcast is all about controlling your intuition. So go and have a listen. I mean, no, it literally is. Yeah, and it's about blocking messages. It's only going to keep coming up. That message is only going to get louder and louder and louder and louder. And sometimes the intuitive message isn't aligned to what we think our needs and wants are, and there's a bigger plan at play, and sometimes we have to surrender up because our wants isn't actually what we're gonna get.
Yes, you said on our podcast when we first recorded, the universe will throw you pebbles.
Oh yeah.
And then it eventually will throw you a boulder until you listen.
Until you wake up.
Fun times. Okay. Jasmine says, when I was young, I would wake from a deep sleep and see orbs above me, but this hasn't happened in my adult life. Do you think these were spirit? And how can I tap into that now in my adult life?
I'll be really honest. What's coming through is that don't try and control what you used to experience as a kid to what you experience as an adult. Like things change and move, and I would just say don't get hooked into that you want to get that bit back, but just discover what you're experiencing right now and like go on that journey versus kind of like trying to recreate something as from childhood, because it's not going to work that way. So I would just be like, know that you're intuitive now and don't try and like recreate that from the past, because you're still intuitive now whether you see orbs or not above you. So yeah,
it's always like when you want something, it never happens. You know, it's like, oh, you try, and then universe is like, no, it's trying too hard.
yeah.
But I love that question. Allison says, what about when you wake up enough to know there's a spirit in your room, like a white robed figure with no face, but you feel paralyzed and not technically awake? And I can get rid of them, but what is that? Meaning about like, why are they there?
Right. Ask them. Actually ask them. If you're like paralyzed, not technically awake, but you can feel their presence, and you could say in your head or out loud, why are you here? Or ask them to show them your face, ask them to see the face, like actually say like, can I see your face then please? Like if you want to go, like if you feel like you want to. But I would be asking them why are you here? And feeling confident in that would be like, it's awesome that you can get rid of them. That's like half the battle sometimes. But actually I'd be asking, what do you have to communicate with me if they keep coming through? Because it feels like they're important. They feel benevolent.
Yeah, that's powerful that you can get rid of them, or you could ask them to leave.
Yeah.
Alina says, a lot of the time when I'm meditating and trying to connect, ask for guidance, or try to visualize certain memories of being happy as a child or being sad, my mind really takes over, and I feel a huge block and everything goes blank. I feel like I've been turning off my intuition for so long and not listening to pings. Do you think it's something that will slowly come back as I practice, or tips to drop into my heart more and silence my mind aside from practice?
Oh my gosh, yes, so much. Like it is a practice, and even just allowing ourselves to like drop into our emotions. Sometimes we're really scared of our emotions, of what wants to come through. And so it's that feeling of like, oh, I'm being shown something that's going to make me sad, so we kind of shy away from it because like, oh my god, I don't want to feel like that. But actually it's the learning of feeling like that that's part of the message. And so Alina, I would just say that it's about, I feel like your body wants to open up, but there's a conscious kind of like I don't want to allow myself to feel. And so through practice, I would just really start kind of tuning into your own feelings and what's coming up for you, and yeah, and just really what wants to come through. And that's why I was like, intuition to heal the present moment. Like I talk about, like, stop using our, like, don't just use your intuition to like tell the future, but ask yourself like for healing now and what the guidance for now. And I feel like if it feels like that would really help you, is like to drop into the now versus seeing it like a future thing. But the dropping into the heart, like the show me yes, show me no exercise, like that will really help. And also, like, sometimes it's even just moving your body before you drop in instead of doing a meditation. Like, do a moving meditation, go for a walk. Like, I get the best intuitive hits, like, actually when I'm doing like an embodiment movement practice and I'm not thinking about receiving a message, that it just comes in like really loud and clear.
Love that. Thank you. Jessica, how do you recommend getting kids to tune in with their intuitive gifts? I have a younger brother and he is much more intuitively tuned in than I. I want to encourage him, but I'm not sure how to support him.
Great question. Kid, like, play games. Like, actually, like, you know, you can get 4 pieces of paper and put a circle on one of them, and then like put the, I mean, we can do this as adults to practice too. Like then use your seeing gifts to like, which is the piece of paper that has the circle on. Yeah, like I would play games because kids love games, and it's just a way of them using their seeing gifts in a different way, where it is where we can challenge ourselves to be like, you know, what's under the cup. And it's like you put an object under a cup, and then you could, you know, practice with a friend, and then it's like you kind of practicing and visualizing what you think is under the cup. Like, that's, yeah, a fun game. And you can do it with like cards, like a pack of cards, and just be like, what card have I got? And then is it red or is it black? You know, what suit is it? What number is it? It's a really, you know, and you can do that with our, you know, not just kids, but yeah, it's a great way of like tuning into what you're seeing as well.
Perfect. All right, we got 5 more minutes. I think we can rock it. What about smelling something that no one else smells?
Love it. I have a lot of friends who are like intuitive smellers, and they have started to realize certain smells mean certain things, like certain messages, and so they've really been honing their intuitive smelling. I would just tune in, and then I would ask, if you're smelling something that no one else smells, I would ask, what does it mean to me, and what the intuitive message is, especially if it's recurring. I would also, if it's a repeating smell that no one else can smell, also it might be a spirit or a loved one that's trying to get your attention. For example, I know when my nan's around, because I can smell her brand of cigarettes, and no one else can smell it, but I can smell her brand of cigarettes around me, and it stinks, and I'm like, oh, hi, Nan. So yeah, trust what you're smelling.
Love that. Isn't it clairsalience?
Yeah, clairsalience. Yeah.
Clairsalience is the gift of smell. Okay, Allison says, when you say empty room for the exercises, is that the same thing as being in the center of your head?
Great way. I mean, yeah, if that's how you're visualizing it, yes. Yeah. So for me, that's how I see it. It's like the center of my head. It's like me imagining my frontal lobe, the inside of my brain, the black screen, the black space that I see, the dark space. That's what I see it as, the center where I'm projecting things. It's different for everyone, but if that's how you're seeing it, yes.
Love it. How do I know if it's my anxiety or if it's a warning?
Great question. I could
$1 million question.
I could say I can share so much on this. It's back into the warning message will come in, it's going to give you the warning message, and then it will leave. The anxiety is just going to go round and round and round and round, and it's going to bring up like the anxiety feelings in your chest. It might feel heavy on your chest. Notice how it feels in your body versus the warning message that's going to come in. It's going to be really direct. It's going to give you the warning message, and then it will disappear. That's how I discern between that. And I will also be very clear on what have I just been reading, who have I just spoken to, what have I just been consuming, am I in anxiety because of an exterior energy, or is it my own energy? And that's why this energetic self-sovereignty in our world right now is so important. But yeah, I would that's how I do it. It will come in and then it will leave is the best way, and it will just feel like, again, comes from the back of the head. It will come in, it will feel really commanding. It won't feel like anxious and chattery.
Yeah. Powerful. I feel like my knowing comes from seeing butterflies coming out of nowhere as a loved one or an animal that appears and stays overly long, but also as long stretches of inclement weather that's somehow perfectly timed. For things like weather that affect tons of people, I feel like this can make me feel egotistical, lol. Can these, hey, you're creating your reality, baby. Can these all be a way a loved one or spirit guides are communicating?
100%. Everything around us is communicating with us. It's a matrix. We live in the matrix. Like, what do you know? Yeah, like very much so. That's why it's like believing that the power is within you and it reflects out is really powerful. So, you know, those animal messages, I mean, I just love, and you just know that they're there for you in that moment, and it's not, and just stepping out of feeling like it is egotistical,
Mm-hmm.
and just really being like, no, I'm in my power, I'm in my truth, and this is for me. It's so magical when you allow yourself to do that, to be like, no, this is for me in this moment. When you have that connection, I mean, it lights your whole body up. It feels so special. It's such a special, powerful moment to like have those moments of joy and gratitude and abundance. Like, it just having those moments then open up the energetic portals to create more of that. Mm-hmm. Like, it ripples. So no, they're communicating in many ways, and enjoy it, and mm-hmm. enjoy it and have fun. And like, when we connect to our intuition, when we connect to spirit, they want it to be fun. Like, it's not supposed to be serious. Like, fun, joy, happiness. Like, we can get too bogged down in like getting it right, getting it perfect, being serious. It's like, no, fun and playful. Like, they want us to play with it. Like, it's supposed to be fun.
I love that. Yeah, don't feel bad that the universe is communicating with you. Okay, my intuition in the past has told me hell no about a certain person, and more recently has been telling me hell yes. I'm confused. Can someone's energy change? Can a message change about the same person with time?
Yes. 100%. Yeah. And also where you're at as well. So, but also like as your energy changes as well. So it's not just, remember, again, don't always think it's about them. It's about you. Like, so often we gauge our intuition versus the exterior versus really feeling what it feels like for us. But I would also just keep checking in and being like, am I forcing this because I really want this to be a yes? And just be really honest with yourself. You'll know intuitively whether you're cheating yourself out of the real answer versus, again, dropping into the heart space, dropping into the sacral, dropping into the womb space and being like, does this feel aligned or am I forcing it?
Love it. Last one. All right. I feel like I am getting closer to being comfortable with seeing spirit. How do I move to actually seeing spirit in the form of being able to see it as a male, female, young or old, etc.?
Great question. You're all going to have access to a free Meet Your Spirit Guide meditation, so I would do that. But seeing, for me personally, it's different for everybody, and I've learned through years of discovering what it means. For me, a masculine stands on my right side, the feminine stands on my left side. So when the energy comes in, for me personally, the left, I know it's a woman, the masculine, it's a male. So the old and the young, I mean, everyone has their own way of doing it. For me, the young energy feels light, it feels playful. I've distinguished what young feels like in my body. And you can do this. You can go into the empty room space and say, show me where the masculine energy stands inside of around me. Show me where the feminine stands next to me. Show me what old is. Show me what young is. Show me where the ancestor stands. Show me where my spirit guide stands. You can use the empty room space to call in and discover those different parts, but it's different for everyone. So I would just say be open, and it's just through practice, like knowing, like, how it wants to show up.
Yeah, and I sometimes think too, like I always think that, but it's like very 3D of me to like try and have them look like what I perceive energy to be, which is human. And sometimes it's like if it's an angel or if it's an interdimensional being, they're not in that form. So it's like I've limited myself from seeing certain things because I've perceived what form I think they're going to come to me in. And by opening it up and just allowing whatever form it's going to come, it's been much easier to connect with beings.
Yeah, massively. And sometimes it will be, non-binary, and it's just like, oh, okay, yeah, this is what it comes, this is how I'm experiencing it as well. And yeah, just again, trying not to control what you want to see, and kind of just getting out of the way and being like, oh, okay, shit, wasn't expecting to see that. And it's always a privilege, I find. I mean, for me personally, it's always a privilege of like who shows up into the space and what comes forward, and yeah, just really kind of respecting what wants to come through intuitively, and just respecting the gifts and using them for the highest, your highest vision possible. And and I share more. I keep saying this, I share more in the book because it's just, there's so much I want to share, but like, not abusing your gifts, and really like really honoring them, because they're really special, and we all have access to it. And and I just encourage you, like, play, just see what comes up, and open, and use them during this time of deep transformation in the collective.
Powerful. Yeah. Should we do like a little breath really fast before we close our container?
Yeah, I feel like we should close it all up, otherwise you'll all be like walking like really wide open for the rest of the night, and you'll probably be buzzing and won't be able to sleep, which is I always find. So let's do a grounding closing, and we'll give thanks to our guides and our ancestors who have been with us today. So if you just shut your eyes one last time. And just take a really big deep breath in through the nose and out through the toes. And we're just going to thank our guides, our ancestors, our loved ones for supporting us on this journey this evening. And we're just going to send some healing energy to the collective. And just sending some energy through to the rest of the group. And we're going to ask our spirit team to guide us and shield us for the rest of the week ahead, sharing all the intuitive messages for us to receive, to help us on our life journey, to guide us. And as we imagine the energy force at the top of our head closing, as we turn it off, we say thank you and give thanks and sending love. And then when you're ready, slowly wiggle your hands and your toes and come back round. Yay, thank you.
So powerful, and it was so good to see, your beautiful faces, and I'm so glad we got to answer your questions. We have Natalie Miles Meet Your Spirit Guide coming your way, and sorry about We have our little skirt on from our surgery. We have that coming your way, and then we'll have the recording of tonight's workshop coming your way as well. We just need to edit it. And yeah, we really appreciate you. Natalie Miles is at I Am Natalie Miles. You can listen to our podcast so you think you're intuitive. And then we've also had her on the pod as well. But this was a delight, and it was so good to see you guys. Natalie, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. And thanks for everyone for bringing their energy and awesome questions and signing up. And yeah, it's always such a privilege and honor to share and share this work with everyone. So thank you for spending your evening with me.
Yes. All right, guys, we love you. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Lindsay Simsick.
And I'm Krista Williams.
Welcome to the New Paradigm Digital Workshop Series by Almost 30. Congrats. Investing in yourself is a huge deal.
Yeah, and we want you to get the most out of your experience. So we have a few guidelines that we suggest so that you really get the value for your money. One of them is telling all of your roommates, family members, partners, pets that you're going to be investing the next few hours within this workshop. We want you to not be distracted. We want you to not be interrupted. So really make sure that you're creating the container and intention that this is your time. We also want you to be comfortable. We are huge fans of being comfortable in comfortable clothes all day. So nothing should be different for us, but we want you guys to be seated in a blanket with a sweatshirt on, however you're going to feel most comfortable. Have some water next to you, have a journal so you can write down everything that's important that you're going to get from this time. Also, please note that we did do this live, so there's conversations about the chat, the people within the workshop. So those things aren't going to relate to the workshop experience that you're having, but this is minimal, so it shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, and I would say after this workshop too, give yourself time to integrate. Don't rush into anything right away. Give yourself time to really absorb what you heard, what came up for you, maybe journal, and just give yourself time to rest. But we really hope you enjoyed this workshop, and if you do, we have more where that came from. So you can visit shopalmost30.com for more New Paradigm Digital Workshop Series offerings.
Enjoy.
Yeah, we'll see you soon.
See you soon.
Perfect. Hello, everyone. I'm Lindsay Simsick. This is Krista Williams, and we are the co-founders and co-hosts of the Almost 30 podcast. If you don't know about Almost 30, we started this podcast 3.5 years ago when we were going through our Saturn return. So that time where you're just like, what the hell is going on? You have so many questions and doubts and fears, and life up until that point doesn't really prepare you for that. And so we started a conversation, and we've grown it into a global community. And, just to relate it to what we're doing today, when we met Milana Snow on this journey with Almost 30, our individual work with her and then collectively with the Almost 30 community has healed